Oh, here we go.
There we go. Look at that. What's going on?
Everything. How are you?
Everything's good. Hey, I just started watching that Wayne Shorter special the other day. So many people have been talking about it. Man, whoever orchestrated the art and the way that thing was animated, it's crazy.
I agree with you.
Man.
It really kind of just created an atmosphere around an inscrutable man, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it was beautiful.
You know, he's one of those guys covering jazz that I realize the power of him, but sometimes I need these documentaries to really get to like the landscape of how influential they are, because like his early work to me was just so foundational, like Miles. And he really kind of went the same trajectory. I mean, he really went electronic and went kind of avant later on.
Yeah, you know, I'm with you. Those early compositions just they're in stone. They are the foundation for so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that he had that nickname. Quick Fingers, was it?
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, in the beginning they were like,
yes.
Yeah,
right.
All of them would be like, you're Quickie or something like that. Quick Fingers or something like, yeah. So I had no idea, but hey, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out
today. Good to meet you too.
So I want to begin our conversation here with, you know, COVID did its thing to the jazz community. How did you survive it, and how did it change you?
I think the way it changed us all is yet to be known.
Yeah, true.
I mean, these things have a big, long-lasting effect. But in the, when it hit, I just focused in on the people closest to me. I live in a collective household, and at the time, the boys I lived with were 10 and 12, and so I kind of took on their homeschooling and making sure they had a schedule and good activities and warm food, and that was a real good sense of purpose for about a year. And then and then it started to be fatigue, and that's about when my writing partner and I decided to make this recording. And so I split my time then between kind of caregiving and doing the musical direction, getting ready to get the band in the studio, finishing up compositions, dusting off some old ones and giving them new life. And so it was okay. It was okay to be home and have that time. It was actually, it comes out with something at the end that makes it worthwhile.
Absolutely. So let's talk about everybody. Sixth Street All Stars. Talk to me about this recording.
Okay, well, the songwriting is mostly with Dana Hinchliffe, my good friend and early collaborator. We've known each other now for 30 plus years. And I took our sketches of tunes, some tunes more actualized than others, and fleshed them out for a larger group with 3 horns and a rhythm section with Latin percussion. And we're featuring 6 singers on the disc. And it's really social music. It's meant to be joyful, and it's out in the world, and that's, I guess, what we were going for.
You know, the one thing that struck me when I saw the cover, because I get so many CDs every week, I should say, is I think about the montage of Good Times when it started and all those Marvin Gaye paintings.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? We're always just automatically painted a mood. And I mean, Marvin was already wonderful, but if you add the paintings to it, it feels, I feel the movement and the flow with the cover of this album.
Thank you so much. That's like necessity is a mother of invention kind of a situation. So hard to get that big group of people all in one room. So I took their images and a lot of other papers and scissors and glue and made something that I also feel like it kind of captures the vibe of everybody together.
Yeah, for sure.
Come as you are. Let's have a good time.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of a good time, how did this journey into the music begin for you? Where were you born and raised, and how did this begin?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Rochester, New York, which is northwestern New York State. And I was always a creative person, and, enjoyed making art in many visual mediums. And early on, I was interested in theater, and I began writing poetry in middle school. And I didn't really have a lot of exposure to music as a very young person. It just wasn't part of our household. My parents were always super supportive of all artistic endeavors. It just wasn't something that was focused on. There's no one in my family that participates in music besides me. But when I got to high school, I always liked singing, of course. as in school. And when I got to high school, I joined the jazz choir. And from the arrangements of the, the choir arrangements for jazz choir, I got to check out some vocalese on horn solos, which were really eye-opening. And it led me to pursue the original recordings. And from there, it was just a tidal wave. Took me over completely. And it's really been my focus since then. I used to take my babysitting money and go to this little used record shop in Rochester called the Bop Shop. I don't know if it still exists, but I would bring home, all the greats. I mostly listened to horn players, I think, early on. And then when I graduated high school, I went to the New School for Jazz and Contemporary Music in New York. And boy, did I get an incredible exposure to so many greats. Yeah.
So what was the first live jazz show you saw that blew you away?
Okay. Well, because I was a teenager when I first discovered jazz, I really relied on recordings, but those recordings blew my mind, and it was like a mind blown state of being from there forward. I really just saw and found meaning in all forms of art in a new kind of way, having just had that opening. But when I got to New York, I took my meal plan money and went to all the jazz clubs. One of the first and most memorable ones was I got to see Sarah Vaughan at the Blue Note, sitting in the front row, really like sitting in her lap.
Yeah.
That was amazing. And I saw McCoy Tyner at Sweetwater and Shirley Horn at Fat Tuesdays. And one of my favorite trios, Joe Lovano, Bill Frisell, Paul Motion at the Vanguard. Amazing. I got to see the Fort Apache Band, Jerry Gonzalez, one of my favorites and a big influence. I've been super lucky.
Yeah.
Got to see them all.
Yeah. So what is it that you like the best about being involved with jazz in this community and being in music?
I think the thing that appeals most to me about jazz is the immediacy. You kind of have to surrender all the constructs to get to the heart of it. It is always forward slanting and like moving towards evolution and stretching the human potential. It's the ultimate example of a growth mindset. And that's really both humbling and inspiring all at once. Jazz, hey, just look at your backdrop. Jazz is life.
Yeah.
You've got the city and all the people, and above it, the horn tones are the air we breathe. I think that I'm not alone when as a person for whom jazz has just meant so much and continues to be the motivating force and kind of spirit of life.
Absolutely. So, you mentioned some pretty heavy names. If you could get into a time machine and go see anybody live that you never got the chance to see, who would you love to have seen?
Well, I think having just watched the Wayne Shorter thing, I really want to check out that show that they describe in the documentary where the band has decided to try to push the edge.
Yeah.
Like, Miles' second quintet in the mid 60s.
Yeah.
So I go down maybe Milton's or wherever they were playing and check that out, and then run downtown to Village Gate and try and get a little bit of a taste of the beginnings of free jazz with Coltrane and Eric Dolphy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might. But if I have the Jazz DeLorean, maybe I'll go visit the 22nd century and hear what jazz sounds like on Mars.
That's it. That's the thing too. You could go anywhere. I think that show was the Plug Nickel, and I don't think Miles knew it. I thought it was, and I don't think Miles knew what was going on. But now that I think about it, because I've heard that recording before, they were pretty all over the place. I mean, it was hardcore, So
yeah, that would be amazing to be in the room for that.
Yeah. What about modern players? Who's out there now that you haven't seen live that you would love to catch live?
I feel as though I haven't seen as much music as I used to. Certainly, it's just by virtue of having more responsibilities and being out of New York a little bit. But who would I want to hear? Well, I always love and look for an opportunity to hear Maria Schneider's big band.
Yeah.
I just, it's in recent years, it's been the focus of my kind of study, or I've been working on understanding better harmony and arranging. And so that's something that's really appealing to me. And I always find her compositions really get to the heart of kind of a deeper sense of emotion. So I love to hear her, but I have heard her live and I would take any opportunity to do it. Who else? I mean, I think about the people I went to school with who I haven't heard live in a long time, like Brad Meldau or Chris Potter, and I would love to check them out.
Yeah.
Just hear where they're at right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, the one thing that always pulled me in the beginning with jazz was the album covers were so iconic, and there were so many good ones. What's a couple of your favorite covers that you've always remembered that struck a chord with you?
I mean, the first one that comes to mind, not only the cover, but I had some kind of limited edition Billie Holiday, and the vinyl itself was an image.
Yeah.
But you know, it's the iconic head back with the gardenia.
Yeah, yeah.
That really, it's emblazoned in all of our minds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love it. I don't know. I'm in my mind's eye as I think about your question. I'm seeing more of a overarching style of like the blocky letters with color blocking and, you know, very slick looking black and white photos.
Yeah.
It's a vibe. It's a vibe.
So let's say you come to Kansas City and you perform a live show and you have to sell it. How would you describe your live show? How would you sell it and get people in Kansas City to come to the show?
You know, starting to think about promoting the disc that, you know, everybody, Sixth Street All Stars, I've really had an opportunity to be more in touch with and appreciate people like you who love the music and who act as a conduit between the artist and the audience. And so I would rely on you. I would rely on you to help. But, you know, when you spend your time and talent to make something and put it out in the world, you just really hope that the music is axiomatic and that if people can hear it, the rest will follow. It's intimidating, and it's intimidating to try and have to be a salesperson for your heart and soul.
Yeah. It is.
So will you do that for me, please,
yes,
Joe?
I certainly will.
Thank you.
Which leads me to this question. What are the plans of promoting live shows? Anything coming up for you?
Yeah. Ooh, that could be the entree to a long conversation about the economics of jazz and how hard it is. With a larger band like this, the playing opportunities are scarce. And, you know, we really worked with the people who we admire most and who are very busy and in demand and who deserve to be well paid. So, you know, it's possible that the CD could do well or the recording could do well and open up some avenues for live performance, and that would be amazing. But this particular project in our minds has been more of a recording project, just because of the economics of the situation. So the thought is to put it into people's ears through the recording and be open to whatever possibilities can come from that.
Right on. So Sixth Street All Stars, everybody, the new album, where's the best place to get it? Learn more about you and the band. Where can they go?
Well, we've got a website, sixthstreetallstars.com, and Bandcamp is a great place for if you want to purchase the music. We have a limited number of discs, and then of course we're streaming on all the outlets.
Right on. Hey, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much, Molly, for taking time out. Best of luck with everything.
Oh, it's so my pleasure, and thank you so much for the work you do.
Yeah, I'm just standing.